Maia, a gentle and beautiful goddess. Maia was one of the Pleiades, the 7 daughters of the Titan Atlas and the Oceanid Pleione. She was known for her quiet and shy nature, preferring to live a peaceful life away from the other gods. Maia lived in a secluded cave on Mount Silene in Arcadia, far from the noise and commotion of the world. Because of her reclusive lifestyle, Maia was rarely seen by others. Zeus fell in love with Maia, and they secretly met in her cave. Maia became pregnant and later gave birth to a baby boy. This child was named Hermes. Hermes grew up to be a clever and mischievous god. Even as a baby, he showed how smart he was by inventing the lyre, a musical instrument, using a tortoise shell. He also stole Apollo's cattle but cleverly returned them without getting caught. Zeus was very proud of Hermes and made him the messenger of the gods. Hermes was known for his speed, often wearing winged sandals that allowed him to fly. He became the god of travelers, thieves, and commerce, always moving quickly between the heavens and the earth, delivering messages for Zeus. Dione is one of the more mysterious and lesser-known goddesses. Unlike famous goddesses like Athena or Hera, Dione doesn't appear often in myths. However, when she does show up, she plays an important role. Dione is most famous for being mentioned in Homer's Iliad, where she is described as the mother of Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty. While many stories say that Aphrodite was born from sea foam after Uranus was castrated, Homer tells a different tale. He says that Aphrodite was actually the daughter of Zeus, the king of the gods, and Dione. In the Iliad, Aphrodite is wounded in battle and goes to her mother Dione for comfort. Dione tends to Aphrodite's injuries and reassures her by saying that many gods have faced hardships because of humans. This scene shows Dione as a caring and nurturing mother. Although there aren't many stories about Zeus and Dione's relationship, their connection is emphasized in other ways. For example, in Dodona, one of the oldest oracles in Greece, people worshipped both Zeus and Dione together. They believed that Dione was an important goddess, closely linked to Zeus. In later myths, Dione is sometimes listed as one of Zeus's early consorts before he married Hera. While she isn't as widely recognized as other goddesses, Dione's role as the mother of Aphrodite shows that she was an important figure in Greek mythology. Io was a beautiful mortal woman who served as a priestess of Hera, the queen of the gods and the wife of Zeus. Zeus, the king of the gods, noticed Io's beauty and fell in love with her. However, because he was already married to Hera and knew she would be jealous, Zeus tried to keep his feelings for Io a secret. One day, Zeus approached Io and tried to win her over. Just as he was about to speak to her, he saw Hera watching him from Mount Olympus. To hide what he was doing, Zeus quickly transformed Io into a white cow. When Hera arrived, she immediately became suspicious and asked Zeus about the cow. Zeus, trying to avoid conflict, told her it was just an ordinary cow. Hera didn't believe him and, out of jealousy, asked Zeus to give her the cow as a gift. Zeus had no choice but to agree, and Hera took the cow under her care. To keep Io from escaping, Hera assigned Argus, a giant with 100 eyes, to guard her day and night. Feeling sorry for Io, Zeus sent Hermes, the messenger god, to rescue her. Hermes cleverly played soothing music that put all of Argus's eyes to sleep and then killed him, freeing Io. But Hera, still angry, sent a gadfly to sting Io constantly, driving her to wander the earth in pain. Io's long journey took her across many lands, and she eventually reached Egypt, where Zeus finally restored her to her human form. In Egypt, Io gave birth to a son named Epiphas. Europa was a beautiful princess who lived in the region we now call Phoenicia. She was so lovely that even the king of the gods, Zeus, noticed her and wanted to make her his own. However, Zeus knew that simply approaching her as himself might scare her, so he came up with a clever plan. One day, while Europa was gathering flowers with her friends by the sea, Zeus transformed himself into a magnificent white bull. This bull was not like any other. He was gentle, graceful, and his skin shone like polished ivory. Europa was amazed by the beauty of the bull and, feeling no fear, she began to pet him and even climbed onto his back. As soon as Europa was seated, the bull, who was actually Zeus, sprang up and dashed toward the sea. He leaped into the water and began to swim away, taking Europa with him. They crossed the ocean, and Zeus carried Europa all the way to the island of Crete. Once they reached Crete, Zeus revealed his true identity to Europa. He told her that he was the king of the gods and that he had fallen in love with her. Zeus promised that she would be well taken care of, and indeed, Europa became the queen of Crete. Europa and Zeus had 3 sons together, one of whom was Minos, who would later become the famous king of Crete and the judge of the dead in the underworld. To honor Europa, the continent of Europe was named after her, forever linking her name to the land. Danae was a beautiful princess and the daughter of King Acrisius of Argos. However, her father was deeply troubled after hearing a prophecy that said Danae's son would one day kill him. To prevent this, Acrisius decided to lock his daughter away in a bronze chamber, hidden deep underground, where no man could reach her. But Zeus, the king of the gods, noticed Danae and was captivated by her beauty. Even though she was trapped in the chamber, Zeus found a way to reach her. He transformed himself into a golden shower of light and entered the chamber through the roof. In this miraculous form, Zeus came to Danae, and she soon became pregnant. Danae eventually gave birth to a son named Perseus, who would grow up to be one of the greatest heroes in Greek mythology. When King Acrisius discovered that Danae had given birth to a child, he was furious and terrified. Not wanting to risk his life, he put Danae and the baby Perseus in a wooden chest and cast them out to sea, hoping they would drown. However, Zeus watched over them, and the chest safely floated to the island of Seriphos. There, a kind fisherman named Dictys found Danae and Perseus and took them in, raising Perseus as his own son. As the prophecy had foretold, Perseus eventually fulfilled his destiny, but in a way that was unexpected. After many adventures, Perseus accidentally caused Acrisius' death, fulfilling the prophecy without intending to. Alcmene was a beautiful and virtuous woman, the daughter of King Electrian of Mycenae, and was married to Amphitryon, a brave and noble warrior. One day, while Amphitryon was away on a military campaign, Zeus, the king of the gods, noticed Alcmene and was struck by her beauty. Zeus was determined to be with Alcmene, so he came up with a clever plan. He disguised himself to look exactly like her husband, Amphitryon. In this form, Zeus visited Alcmene and spent the night with her. Alcmene believed she was with her husband and had no idea that it was actually Zeus. That same night, the real Amphitryon returned home from his journey and also spent time with Alcmene. Because of these 2 encounters, Alcmene became pregnant with twin sons. However, only one of the sons, Heracles, also known as Hercules, was the child of Zeus. The other son, Iphicles, was the child of Amphitryon. Heracles would go on to become one of the greatest heroes in Greek mythology, known for his incredible strength and his 12 famous labors. Despite being the son of a god, Heracles faced many challenges in life, often due to the jealousy of Zeus's wife, Hera. Leda was a beautiful queen of Sparta, married to King Tyndareus. Her beauty caught the attention of Zeus, the king of the gods. Zeus was determined to be with Leda, but instead of approaching her directly, he decided to use his powers to transform himself into a magnificent swan. One day, while Leda was by the river, Zeus, in the form of the swan, flew down and appeared to be in distress. He pretended to be fleeing from a pursuing eagle. Feeling sorry for the swan, Leda took it into her arms to protect it. This is when Zeus, still in the form of the swan, seduced her. That same night, Leda also spent time with her husband, King Tyndareus. Because of this, Leda later gave birth to 4 children, but in a very unusual way. She laid 2 eggs, and from these eggs, the children were born. From one egg came Helen, who would later be known as Helen of Troy, the most beautiful woman in the world, and Pollux. These 2 were considered to be the children of Zeus. From the other egg came Clytemnestra and Castor, who were considered the children of Tyndareus. Helen and Pollux were often depicted as divine or semi-divine beings, while Castor and Clytemnestra were more human. The twins, Pollux and Castor, were also known as the Dioscuri and were famous for their brotherly bond and adventures together. Semele was a beautiful mortal princess, the daughter of King Cadmus of Thebes. Semele is most often said to have been a priestess in the temple of Zeus in her father's city. After slaughtering a bull as a sacrifice, she was seen by Zeus as she bathed in the river to wash the animal's blood off of herself. Her beauty and charm caught the attention of Zeus, the king of the gods, and he fell deeply in love with her. Zeus began to visit Semele in secret, and over time, she became pregnant with his child. However, their affair did not go unnoticed. Hera, Zeus's wife, grew suspicious and was determined to find out who Zeus was seeing. When she discovered it was Semele, Hera was furious and decided to take revenge. Hera disguised herself as an old woman and befriended Semele. Gaining her trust, Hera planted seeds of doubt in Semele's mind, suggesting that her lover might not truly be the mighty Zeus. Curious and wanting to know the truth, Semele asked Zeus to reveal himself to her in his true divine form. Zeus had promised to grant Semele anything she wished, so he was bound by his word. Though he knew it would be dangerous, Zeus reluctantly agreed. When Zeus revealed himself in all his divine glory, the intense light and power of his true form were too much for a mortal to bear. Semele was instantly consumed by the overwhelming sight and died. However, Zeus acted quickly to save their unborn child. He took the baby from Semele's womb and sewed it into his own thigh to protect it until it was ready to be born. After some time, the child was born from Zeus's thigh. This child was Dionysus, the god of wine, festivities, and ecstasy. Dionysus would grow up to become a powerful god, and despite the tragic circumstances of his birth, he would later rescue his mother Semele from the underworld and bring her to Mount Olympus, where she was granted immortality. Aegina was a beautiful nymph, one of many daughters of the river god Asopus and the river nymph Metope. Zeus, the king of the gods, was captivated by her beauty and wanted to make her his lover. However, Aegina's father, Asopus, was very protective of his daughters and kept a close watch on them, knowing that gods like Zeus and Apollo often pursued them. Zeus knew he couldn't win Aegina's affection while she was under her father's watchful eye. So, one day, he transformed into a large eagle and swooped down to carry Aegina away when her father wasn't looking. He took her to a remote island called Europa. When Asopus realized that his daughter was missing, he was furious and began searching for her. His search led him to Corinth, where Sisyphus, the king of the city, ruled. By chance, Sisyphus had seen a large bird flying overhead, carrying a young woman in its talons, heading toward Oenopiia. Sisyphus informed Asopus about what he had seen. When Zeus learned that Sisyphus had revealed Aegina's whereabouts, he was enraged. As punishment, Zeus sent Thanatos, the god of death, after Sisyphus. Meanwhile, Asopus tried to retrieve his daughter from the island, but Zeus drove him away with thunderbolts, forcing the river god to retreat. With Asopus out of the way, Zeus made Aegina his mistress, and the island was renamed Aegina in her honor. Aegina eventually gave birth to Zeus's son, Aeacus, who became the king of the island. To provide Aeacus with subjects to rule over, Zeus is said to have turned the island's ants into men, who became known as the Myrmidons. Antiope was a beautiful princess from Thebes. Zeus, known for his many love affairs with mortals, was captivated by her beauty. To seduce Antiope, Zeus transformed himself into a satyr, a creature that is half man, half goat, known for its lustful nature. Disguised as this rustic figure, Zeus approached Antiope, and she became pregnant with twins, Amphion and Zethus. After Antiope became pregnant, she was forced to flee her home due to her fear of punishment and shame. She sought refuge in the city of Sicyon, where she married the local king. However, her troubles did not end there. Antiope was later captured by her uncle Lycus, who was acting on orders from his wife, Dirce. They mistreated Antiope severely, binding her and treating her as a slave. Eventually, her twin sons, Amphion and Zethus, discovered their true heritage and avenged their mother by killing Dirce and overthrowing Lycus. The twins went on to become the rulers of Thebes, and they are credited with building the city's famous walls. This myth is one of many that highlight Zeus's relationships with mortal women and the often tragic consequences of these divine encounters. The story also showcases themes of injustice, revenge, and the eventual triumph of the oppressed. Callisto was the daughter of King Lycaon and a water nymph named Nonacris. She was a devoted follower of Artemis, the goddess of the hunt, and had taken a vow to remain a virgin. Because of her loyalty, Callisto became one of Artemis's favorite attendants. One day, Zeus, the king of the gods, noticed Callisto and was captivated by her beauty. Despite being married to Hera, Zeus decided to pursue her. To get close to her without alarming her, he disguised himself as Artemis. When Callisto was alone, Zeus, still in disguise, approached her, and before she realized what was happening, he took advantage of her and she became pregnant. Callisto returned to Artemis's group, but she didn't tell anyone what had happened. As time passed, it became impossible to hide her pregnancy. Eventually, Artemis discovered the truth when she saw Callisto bathing in a river and noticed her condition. Furious that Callisto had broken her vow of chastity, Artemis expelled her from the group, despite the fact that it was Zeus, Artemis's own father, who was responsible. Alone in the forest, Callisto gave birth to a son named Arcas. At this time, Callisto was transformed into a bear. There are different stories about who transformed her. Some say it was Zeus to protect her, others say it was Hera as punishment, or even Artemis as part of her anger. After Arcas was born, Zeus sent Hermes to take him to the nymph Maia, who raised him. Arcas eventually grew up and became the king of Arcadia, named in his honor. Meanwhile, Callisto, as a bear, wandered through the forests. One day, while hunting, Arcas encountered a bear, not realizing it was his mother. Callisto, recognizing her son, approached him, but Arcas, thinking she was just a wild animal, prepared to kill her. At that moment, Zeus intervened. To save Callisto and allow her to be with her son, Zeus turned both of them into constellations in the night sky. Callisto became Ursa Major, the great bear, and Arcas became Ursa Minor, the little bear. However, Hera, still angry about Zeus's infidelity, convinced the sea goddess Tethys to prevent these constellations from ever dipping below the horizon to drink water, a punishment that lasted for a long time. This myth explains how the constellations Ursa Major and Ursa Minor came to be and reflects the themes of love, betrayal, and the consequences of the gods' actions.